You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
And we are the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making us your very first listen every single day. Be sure to check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Locked On Rays. You can also find us on X and Instagram at Locked On Rays, and email us anytime. Love the mailbag questions and voice memos. LockedOnRays@gmail.com. And Ulises, before we dive into an unfortunate loss, we have to tell the audience something very important here.
And that's, in fact, that this episode of the Locked On Rays podcast is brought to you by Booking.com. Yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. Check out Booking.com for your stay today. Well, you know what? Maybe the Mariners used Booking.com while they were in St. Pete. Enjoy the beaches. Enjoy the 2 L's before their getaway game where, unfortunately, they came out with a W, Kevin.
But they're laughing at the end of the day because they are 46-37 on the year, while the Rays at literally the halfway point, 40-41. All good things must come to an end. Really thought the Rays were going to roll on to the series sweep. Alas, that didn't happen as they lose 5-2. And hopefully after an off day, they can pick it up against the Washington Nationals. But perhaps yet another Kevin Crash moment this week. We definitely saw one earlier in the week with Chris Stavinsky, who is now DFA'd, but still getting paid. DFA'd, but still getting paid. That might be a tagline to utilize going forward. Yeah. But there's been some conversation and conjecture about the decision to take out Ryan Pepiot and his 8 strikeouts after 5 1/3 innings. And I should note those 5 1/3 innings, 1 earned run, 2 walks, and 1 hit, and bringing in Shawn Armstrong. And no disrespect to Shawn Armstrong, but he hasn't pitched in 6 days, if that's correct.
He hadn't pitched since June 20th. So since the Minnesota outing where he went 2 scoreless innings. But he did not have his best stuff today. 2 2/3, a hit allowed, 2 earned runs with that homer, a walk. So it was definitely not his day. I usually would not be so protective of said move that Cash made, but I did like 5 days ago when he did it with Pepiot and in Pittsburgh, and he took him out early, and that was the right decision. It worked out. He was trying to do the same thing again. It blew up on his face. So the process is there. I understand what he's doing. Right. And, I'm not too against taking out Pepiot there. However, I do believe that if you are developing a young starter like Ryan Pepiot, who you think of very highly because you traded a potential Cy Young Award winner in Tyler Glasnow for him, right? So you already know that this front office thinks highly of him. And because of that, when is the point where you're going to give him a longer leash to Pepiot to get out of trouble? I mean, ultimately, if you think very highly of him, then that means that he can be a top 2, top 3 arm in the rotation. He could even develop to be the ace of the staff. We don't know, right? Right. You can't just label guys right off the bat. So if he were to be a 1, 2, 3, he needs to develop getting out of trouble. He was at 88 pitches. Right. That's not 100. So, okay, you took him out. It didn't work. I'm okay with it not working. I'm just asking the question, when is that point going to come for Ryan Pepiot with a Rays uniform where he's giving a longer leash than he was shown today?
Well, quick follow-up to that. Were you okay with inserting Shawn Armstrong as opposed to perhaps Colin Poche or Kevin Kelly or Jason Adam? You're facing, I believe, the 2, 3, 4 hitters. Rojas and Cal Riley are both lefties. So I would have thought that would be an opportunity to deploy Colin Poche. And like we mentioned, there's usually some rust involved when a reliever hasn't pitched in 6 games. And frankly, maybe the situation just didn't call for it yesterday, but that might have been an opportunity. Hey, get some garbage time work, get your arm right, display some command control. Just, hey, give us 15, 18 pitches and we'll be ready to roll you out the next day, because we have an off day on Thursday. And he's a guy who can work multiple innings as it is. So it's not like you would be laboring him to the point where he couldn't be used back-to-back days when you have an off day following that.
That I 100% agree. Now, the train of thought, all of that, I still think it's okay. Now, going with Shawn Armstrong, now that is a thing that I think we should doubt the Kevin Cash and company move, because like you're saying, with lefties coming up, I would feel better with a Colin Poche. It's not like Colin Poche has been like, pitched to the ground. I mean, the guy was on the IL, so It's not like, he still has some bullets in him left. So giving not only 6 days, Kev, but now you're bringing him in a situation mid-inning without a clean inning. That was very Dr. Seuss of me.
And you're facing the heart of the order, essentially.
Exactly. So it's like a super big moment. And I don't have any doubt that Shawn Armstrong could naturally be okay with that. But why try it? You don't have to. Like, unless Colin Poche, hey, we don't know. Maybe Colin told Kevin before the game, hey, yo, I am not available. I have the runs, man. Like, or something. Like, fine. That stuff is never going to be given out to the public. So we don't know. But we can still definitely question it, because I agree with you. Given the 6 days of no pitching, the fact that it's not a clean inning, the fact that it's lefties coming up, I think Shawn Armstrong should not have been the first option.
Right. And I think, to your point about Ryan Pepiot, when's the point when the Rays are going to let him go 100-plus pitches, 6+ innings consistently? I have a little inclination and feeling that they are sort of, what is the NBA term? Load management. Little load management with him. Up until some of the injured pitchers are back in the equation, i.e. Shane Baz and Jeffrey Springs and so on and so forth, because we know, not saying that Ryan Pepiot is injury prone, but if you're laboring and you're fatigued and you're trying to throw max effort, it can lead to injury. And we know that how the Rays feel about not only third time through the order, but fourth time through the order. Because if I recall, correct me if I'm wrong here, him facing JP Crawford, that would have been his 4th time facing JP.
I believe so.
Okay. Because there was nothing in the 5th inning leading into the 6th that would indicate that, hey, Ryan Pepiot is starting to get gassed here. He had 2 strikeouts and a ground out. But
Wait, if he pitched 5 1/3, that's 16 outs. Okay. And he only allowed a hit before that.
So it'd be 3rd time through the order. Okay.
Yeah. 3rd time.
Really? So, oh my gosh, they are not allowing.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you think,
because I thought Pepiot had faced. Maybe I'm mistaken it here. No, I think you're on the right track. I think the rub was when he walked JP Crawford and threw a fastball at 93 miles per hour. That threw signals in the Rays coach's head of he's starting to lose it a little bit.
But again,
and he threw 5 pitches. He walked JP Crawford on 5 pitches. Here at the Locked On Rays podcast, we pride ourselves on getting you the latest news for your team, whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, or the playoffs. It's year-round. You know what else is year-round? Collection season. Just because tax season is over does not mean the IRS will stop coming after you for those unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. With over 14 years of experience and an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. So whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning, or finally hit that parlay this season and need help correctly filing, call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/locked on. You can also see the link in this episode description below. I'll repeat it again. Call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/locked on. Passion, drive, and patience. That is the formula for winning championships. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and so much more. They've got it all. And whether you're into speed, power, style, eBay Motors, they've got you covered, like I said. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you are looking for. And here's a cool feature. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money is returned. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP, maybe the Yandy Diaz, and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers.
But again, I think we agree, like, fine. If that's not the point right now, okay, fine. You want to do the process of taking him out. Okay. Why Shawn Armstrong?
Yes.
That's number one. And number two is, when is the point when a guy that has only allowed a hit and I believe only one walk, oh no, 2 walks. So 2 walks, a hit, he's less than 90 pitches, a guy you think highly of, when is that point when Kevin Cash and company are going like, nah, he's a big boy, he's going to get it. He's a big boy. It's fine. Like, when is that point? Is that point not coming at all this year? Is it next year? Is it after the All-Star game of 2025? I'd like to know.
I think it's when they have more reinforcements and when he has more starts under his belt. I think that's part of it. Now, if it was facing, I think it also is a top of the order, bottom of the order thing. So if JP Crawford, was batting 7th, or it was a different name there, like say he had walked whoever the number 8 or number 7 hitter is, then maybe you give him a bite of the apple for the 8th and 9th hitter versus who's coming up next of Rojas, Rodriguez, Riley, so on and so forth. But if the Rays feel that he is a top of the rotation guy, there's got to be a point in time where you can't just work 5 1/3 innings on 88 pitches. No, you got to be stretched out a little bit more, even by Rays standards. And I would feel differently if, I know the bullpen in some respects has been doing better lately, but if it was one of those years where the team had one of the best relief corps in the game, then that would be a lot more understandable and something to stomach. But we've seen some off the wall things. Like, honestly, putting in Shawn Armstrong, head scratched a little bit, but Shawn Armstrong giving up a home run, that doesn't surprise me, because we've seen so many times this year where the relief corps has blown games, whether it's Jason Adams or Pete Fairbanks or Chris Davinsky or
and guess
Phil
what?
Maton.
We haven't even talked about Kevin Kelly, who also did not have a good day. But
that's true.
But again, right now when that decision is the one that those 2 questions are the bothers me the most, really. Why Shawn Armstrong there, and when is that point going to come for Pepiot?
Yeah, that's big. I do want to give a quick shout out and note, look, it's really hard to score or win games when you score only 2 runs. Should note that. But Yandy Diaz making history, setting the franchise record for the longest hit streak, taking down, unseating Jason Bartlett. 19-game hit streak for Mr. Yandy. I think he's back. I think we're looking like we have the old Yandy back from the last couple seasons, where he received, he made an all-star appearance last year, but the last 2 years he received MVP votes. And we might just have to shove, I guess we've talked more about trading Randy Rosarena, Brandon Lau, and others. I'm all about keeping Yandy Diaz through that contract. Let's keep him through that 2026 option year because hitters like him do not grow on trees. First off, I loved the, opening it off with taking a 96 fastball and shooting it the other way. But him getting an infield single of all things was really fun to take in. And we've harped on this consistently. Swinging bunt, however you get the ball in the field, we often say, hey, run hard no matter what. Sometimes that's easier said than done. But run hard no matter what if the pitcher is forced to make a play on that ball that is in play. Because wild, wacky things happen all the time with that. Mistakes happen all the time with that because they're just not used to it and not expecting it. So anytime you see a pitcher stepping off the mound to grab the ball, throw the ball, cover first, run your heart out. Run like Forrest Gump.
Congrats to Yandy. It's awesome to see that. Awesome to see the hustle. Awesome to see a guy that would not get more than 1 or 2 infield hits a season to get it that way. That was pretty cool and awesome. I think he is back. I think he has been back for the month of June, little by little. That OPS is going to touch 800 by the time, July 5th comes around. By Independence Day, we might see a Yandy with an 800 OPS, and that would be very, very cool.
Prop bet, I'll put it on the board. Yandy, he's really got to keep it going. He will get to 300 this season. By the end of the year, he will have a 300 batting average. I'm convinced of it after what I've seen.
Cool.
That'd be nice. And let's give him some kudos and congrats too for lasting as long as he has with the Rays organization. This is his 5th, 6th season with the Rays. Not many players can say that. Just throwing that out there. So he has been a really key piece for the Rays in his journey here. All right, coming up for the rest of the episode and tomorrow as well, we have a fun interview talking Tampa Bay Rays Stadium with Aaron Parseghian with WTSP Channel 10, one of Evan Klosky's cohorts. So we hope you enjoy that. Stay tuned.
If you've been listening to Locked On Rays for a while, you know that I love traveling. And this episode of Locked On Rays is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. With summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to learn more about. And yeah, we're talking about those rival cities. Maybe you want to, check out about, New York and the Bronx or Boston and Fenway. Well, with hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay even in that baseball rival city. Yeah, we're talking Boston. We're talking Yankees. We might be talking, all right, let's say it, Baltimore. And guess what? From hotels that look over stadiums to family-friendly resorts, Booking.com has so many choices. So the right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rival. So book today on Booking.com, on the site, or in the Booking.com app today. LinkedIn Sales Navigator is a sales intelligence platform that helps professionals effectively prospect and engage high-value customers, drive higher revenue, and increase sales performance. Sales Navigator helps you target the right buyers, surface key signals, and shows you hidden allies so you can find those buyers that are most likely to convert. And right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/locked-on. That is linkedin.com/locked-on, LOCKEDON, for a 60-day free trial. That's 2 months of baseball, people, and you can get that free trial today. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today, like the Isaac Paredes of your team. Just go to linkedin.com/locked-on and get started today.
All right, Ulysses, on today's and tomorrow's episode, we have a special guest joining us on the program, and that is WTSP Channel 10 reporter Aaron Parseghian, who's been all over the Tampa Bay Rays Trop development news and rumblings that are going on. Aaron, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been an interesting thing to follow, certainly since the fall when we first had this big announcement, and one of many over the years, as I imagine.
Yeah, when did you get deployed to this assignment? Like, how long in the process have you been looking at this, evaluating this? When did you jump on board with the ongoings that are happening here?
Well, as soon as I've been in the Tampa Bay area with Channel 10 for a little over 2 years, 2.5 years. So it was like as soon as I got here, there was the talks with Mayor Welch just taking office, talking about, trying to go over this bid proposal again, go out for the requests for bids, get a new developer on site. So that stuff was already happening. And then it obviously ramped up in the fall. And I was there when they made the big announcement that we're here to stay. Had everyone in Tropicana Field, the team leadership, people from around the community. They made the promise this time's different. We have the deal that we think both sides can get done. And that's kind of where everything started to, avalanche to where we're at now.
And where exactly are we as Rays fans? We want to know. Sometimes I think you kind of hinted at it. This whole stadium saga has been going on for now, you can say, decades, and that is a little frustrating. So you're talking to a couple of Rays fans that have followed this, but for people that don't follow it day to day, where are we?
So this is the furthest along any sort of stadium deal has ever gotten to this point. Obviously, there's been the discussions, and up until recently, that's all it was. It was discussions. It was having this development deal in place. It was kind of getting these pegs and the major things involved in the deal, as far as how does the land going to be sold around Tropicana Field? What's going to go where? Who's going to own this? So all of that stuff has been drawn out over the past several months. There's discussions publicly that first happened in May when they had the first real meeting, kind of diving into the details on things like financing, who would pay for what. And then recently we just had a first kind of preliminary vote. So it was the first time there was official action taken on this outside of kind of the behind the scenes business meetings, drawing up the contracts, that kind of thing. It was the first time we actually saw action taken. And now we are about 2.5, 3 weeks away from when they're supposed to take the final vote. That's still, not official. The idea is it's going to happen July 11th at their meeting then. We've seen steps of this process get delayed back and forth. They want to see everything in writing and have these discussions and make sure the contracts have everything that they want in writing before that happens. We've heard several city council members bring that fact up. But right now, the plan is that July, 11th vote for city council would be the day that they make the big vote. And then it would have to be signed off again by the county and then Major League Baseball.
And you ultimately, based on the tea leaves, see it getting approved that they've got the 5 of 8 council votes to move it forward and get a new stadium built?
Yeah, I'm not in the, the prediction process, but I think that vote recently kind of showed where people are aligned with. So we had 5 of the 8 counselors approve those preliminary votes. 3 were against it. It was the 3 who publicly have, made statements saying they weren't for the deal to begin with. And I think if you had those 5 votes, there's no reason you would approve that part of the process without kind of seeing the vision for the whole thing. It wouldn't really make much sense. So the fact that they had 5 approving the initial steps makes you believe that they will be there to vote for it when everything's finalized.
Do you think that there could be anything, or what kind of thing would need to happen until that vote in July 11th that maybe could change that 5-3 vote?
It would have to be something so drastic I couldn't picture what it would be. I wouldn't be surprised if that vote doesn't happen on July 11th and, is extended a couple weeks. The Rays and the development group don't want that to happen. They say they have this very strict deadline. They want to have shovels in the ground to start 2025. And a lot of this is riding on that. But they said that in the past, saying that they were going to need these votes done by, March and April. And now we here are entering July. So I think one of the things that could be a hang up, and one of the council members brought this up at the last meeting they had when they were voting on things, is they want to make sure that some of their, concerns with things like the efficiency of the building, getting it LEED certified, more trees in the area to help with the canopy, help with weather, like things like that. They want to see that drawn out in the contract exactly. They don't want to have it just a promise that's made while we're talking, because promises were made when the site was first developed 40 years ago. That obviously never happened. And they want to make sure they have all this in writing before they take that final vote, and make sure everything's drawn up and they've gone over it. And right now those papers aren't in their hands, and they're on their summer break, so to speak, until a couple of days before that meeting is scheduled. So, there's probably that drawing up process happening right now ahead of time, but obviously that could be pushed back a little bit.
And with that, what do you feel like is the biggest concern for the council? What have they been most vociferous about between the trees and building up to code and honoring the historic gas plant district? What is like the number one, we need to make sure 100% that this is taken care of and it turns out like we want it to turn out?
Well, there's a few things, and I think some of them are, things the Rays have no issue with, and they said, we can make some of this stuff happen. One of the things that was talked about at one of the last meetings I attended was City Council member Gabbard was making sure that, in the event there's a massive hurricane or something, would the city, would the county still be able to utilize the stadium, still be able to utilize that actual area to help with, whatever the needs may be, staging areas, maybe, temporary housing facilities, things like that. They want to see somewhere written in the contract that that's something that they'll be able to do rather than just have it as a promise. The Rays said, we've always helped in those situations, and they do every single year. There's, a projected storm coming in the area. That's where all the power trucks go. That's where all the line crews go. So they have done that in the past, but they want that in writing as well. So that was one of the ones that was interesting coming out of that conversation.
Inside baseball here, Aaron. I am an Ybor resident, so of course I wanted that bad boy to be 5 minutes away from my bungalow, but that's not going to happen, it seems like. So I liked it because of that. 5 minutes away, cool. How about in this new development, when it happens, knock on wood, is there going to be any transportation added? Is there some kind of, lexicon, some verbiage that the accessibility to the stadium is going to be improved either within St. Pete or using some sort of tram high line from Hillsborough County to Pinellas County? Has there been any talk about how that can be improved?
Yeah, so they were discussing, at least the public transportation side, making sure that they have a bus route that can continuously go through that area near the stadium. We're kind of that gathering space where we've seen all the renderings of where people are hanging out before the games, hanging out during a game. Even if you don't have a ticket, you can kind of just hang out there and kind of experience everything that's going to be around it. And one of the things that they were really keen on, and they brought this up in the renderings because someone pointed out, like, hey, is that a car driving by while these people are hanging out? And they said, yeah, one of the things we want to make sure is that there's at least one steady lane of traffic to keep it in the grid of St. Pete rather than having it a blocked off area to kind of keep that traffic moving. And then as far as the transportation aspects, obviously it's going to be the same location, but some of the infrastructure upgrades, making sure those roads are as well mapped out, and then, investing a lot of money in the actual operations of traffic around the area, which they do now, but kind of expanding on that and making that smoother. And then I think the overall layout is with the design in mind rather than what we have now, which is just a bunch of flat top parking lots that don't get really utilized. It's like building on some of that area to make just kind of that area more convenient for game days and non-game days.
Follow up to that. Speaking of transportation, accessibility, and so forth, do you feel that, or has there been indication that there is enough parking? Because I went to, also inside baseball, I went to a game at Camden Yards recently. It was a sellout, one of the rare sellouts of the year. They were facing the Phillies. and we could not get a parking space. There was no room. So we had to drive about a quarter of a mile down the road to a nearby hotel to set up shop and get into the stadium. And I know previously, when maybe it was more so on discussions around Ybor City, well, everybody Ubers nowadays, they'll walk from their office place to the game. Well, the stadium is going to be in St. Pete, and you're going to have to draw a lot of fans from Hillsborough, Pasco, Polk, Sarasota, surrounding counties. They're not riding an Uber or a Lyft to the ball game. That's going to be crazy expensive. So for those people like us, Ulises and myself, who live in Hillsborough County, levy our concerns. Do you feel like they've done enough in that element, whether it's parking garages and other amenities there?
That's obviously been a hot topic of conversation too throughout these meetings, because like you mentioned, there's the concern of you're trying to attract the crowd from the other side of the bridge, from
right.
north, from south, everywhere. And they are, as I understand, they are going to have a garage specifically for people with tickets to the game. So there's going to be, parking garages for the general public for the area. And there's going to be another garage that's strictly like you have to have a ticket to get in the game, from what I understand. I need to look into that again. Obviously, I'm not sure if the number of spaces off the top of my head. It is going to be less because they're taking away some of the surface parking just because of the development. And that was the other topic with this conversation, is because, a lot of this area that's around that field is not utilized. It's kind of just sitting there as this surface parking lot that people don't park in all the time. And so they want to kind of limit that with the garages and things like that, but then also keep some surface area for, extended trips for people that are straight up driving there for the game, and then have the garage option as well. Now, there's a lot of discussion like, can we build upon this? Can we build upon this? And I think that's one of the things they're going to have really narrowed down in the contract, how many spaces they're going to be. Is there opportunity to increase that as this development goes on for the next, 10, 20, 30 years as far as this bonding process goes? So I think that's something that's still going to be discussed, especially before these final votes occur.